No, and that's the thing is that when it comes to, labeling yourself and the misdiagnosing and stuff. So, like I said, when it comes to imposter syndrome, though, we have to be very self-aware. And what is our purpose too? Like, is our purpose to get better? Is our purpose to stay complacent and just kind of ride what we're doing? So, if you're an attorney, if you're a doctor, if you're a clinician, whatever you're doing, if your journey is to continue to get better, then that's checking yourself sometimes. Right. And you will have some imposter syndrome come through. You will doubt yourself at certain moments, and we can't let those moments to where someone says something like that to completely affect you for the rest of, your life. You have to just be like, okay, that's somebody's opinion and they're whatever, and keep going. So,
but even with that, and that's what I tell people too, it's like, okay. And, like I said, sometimes it doesn't affect you until all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, there was that thing that was said. And it's kind of interesting that bothered me. That doesn't bother me now, obviously. But still, but even with imposter, because we were talking about authenticity on one of our other podcasts, but when it really comes down to, listen, if you're a doctor, if you're an attorney, if you're a therapist, I go, you're the product. You're the product. How can you be an imposter when you can't? Like, you are you. And so if you don't feel as though you are where you want to be, it's still you, And then what are you going to do about it? Then what does that look like? Because you're talking about overcoming and like being self-aware. And I think a lot of times people aren't self-aware until somebody goes, this is kind of what I'm hearing. And they go, really? Yeah, and then at least that gives them a little jumping off point.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't get defensive either. Like, and that's one thing is like, you can use what somebody's saying as growth too, and that's one thing, we talk about parents and families and stuff. And I love working with, families. And when I'm having a parent wanting to mend a relationship with their child, whether it's a teenager or an adult, and they're trying to mend it, I always say, what you're doing is not working. You have to change it. And that means something changed about you and what you're doing. You have to change something. So what is it? And it's like, don't become defensive and don't say, no, they need to change. That's my kid. So, and that whole, like, that's my child. I'm the adult. I'm the parent. You do what I say. And that is where a lot of times there's issues, of relationships. So I know we talked about this last week of, last episode is like, parenting and stuff like that and self-awareness. And, I'm seeing that a lot, especially with, I think it's just a generational thing. People in their 40s and 50s who have like the young adult children or late teen children, they tend to want to control everything every step of the way. And then they wonder, why don't they want to be home with me? Why don't they want to do anything with me? It's like, okay, well, if that's what you're looking for, is that your goal, then what you're doing isn't working. So let's listen to your child, whether that child's 16 or whether they're 25. Listen to your kid.
Absolutely.
And you have to be vulnerable enough and, be humble enough to say, I'm doing something wrong to where my kid is not wanting to be around me or listen to me.
I agree. Yeah. So, and here's the thing. It's just like, power and control is not love.
No. Power and control is not love.
It's not love. It's fear. And it's funny because another thing we talk about, because in development, we talk about, you always think in your generation. You do. Mm-hmm. And I have a client that I work with and, she's, I think like 30s, whatever, but her mom and dad came in and I worked with them. They were lovely. But of course, they're a whole other generation. We were just doing a lot of psychoeducation just to get them to understand, because it's like, even, like my mom and stuff, what is that? How is that? It's not, it wasn't here. It wasn't there. And so now they're having to learn this whole language and concept. And is it a reflection on me? I don't understand. And their frustration usually comes in with, I don't know how to, I'm scared.
Right.
I'm scared. And I don't know how to fix or help and that's why I said weakness is not weakness.
And that's why I'm glad I became a therapist, because I get to see that and I get to hear it every day from my teenagers. My children are two different generations. So what worked for the millennial generation is not working for my son's generation. And so, having to like switch between the two and really do a lot of, because I'm big on, okay, listening, like you said, listening. A lot of listening, a lot of loving, a lot of understanding. I will take your approach too. Okay, I don't understand, but help me understand. Because that lets my son know I'm listening. Right. I want to be able to, meet you where you are so that you won't always feel that you're not being heard or that your feelings aren't valid.
And it's like, if you're trying to control something with your child or behavior or whatever, and they are just going to fight against you and fight against you and fight against you. It is what it is. It's going to happen because why? They're at the age that 16 plus, 18 plus, they're like trying to figure out who they are without you. And that is what they need.
Too,
I know it does hurt. And it is a part of the growth of these kids. Yes. And it is a part of that growth, and it is the acceptance. When my son went off to college, it was huge. It was hard for me. But that was my problem, and I knew I had to keep it quiet, and I had to own it. Yes, it was my problem.
That was my problem.
Yes,
I love it.
Yes,
I know I shared with you. I stumbled up on this book, and I'm actually listening to it audibly.
I downloaded it.
You did?
Yes, because you told
I'm
me.
on chapter 3.
Yeah,
and it talks about the title of the book is "Doing Life with Your Adult Children." The little subtitle is "Keep Your Mouth Shut and the Doormat Out." And it really does teach it. It's like, wait a minute.
Yep.
My mouth shut? Are you saying
the welcome mat.
The welcome mat. The welcome mat.
Oh, leave it out.
Leave
Leave it out.
I say keep the mat out.
Keep it out. Keep your mouth shut and that out.
It's true. It's true.
Oh my goodness, I'm getting so many different nuggets from this book because it actually does teach you or show you, the dynamics of, having that relationship with your adult children and when to offer encouragement and when you're being intrusive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Girl, I'm still going with mouth shut and that out. I was like,
Yeah.
TJ's keeping her mouth.
Oh no. Well, you know what? TJ is learning because, TJ's learning.
But that again is a part of your growth
Absolutely.
as a parent because you're shifting from one child who is at a certain age into going into adulthood. You now have to shift.
Right.
We have to pivot as they pivot, as they grow. And that's the thing is that people need to realize that that's what they need to do. And it's like, if you don't think that you need to change, that your child is the one that needs to change and change the behavior, and you're not getting the result that you want, you're doing it wrong. Then you need to humble yourself and you need to say, you know what, I'm screwing up somehow. And that's okay to say. It is better to admit it, and I said on the last episode, like the challenge that I had with my son growing up in his different stages of life and development. And the way I had to shift because I was doing something before middle school. This is how our relationship was. This is how we jived together. Then middle school hit, he was figuring out who he was. He was doing stupid shit, like really stupid shit. I'll have him on this podcast one day. He'll tell you about all the stupid shit.
Oh, when the kids are coming.
Yeah, the kids.
Reagan already said he is ready.
Yeah.
He has the outfit and everything.
Don't think that therapists don't go through stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
They do. I've heard in my house most years, Mom, don't therapize me.
Yeah.
Therapize.
I don't need you to therapize me.
Yeah.
You do that to your
My
own
husband
clients.
said that too. Don't feed to your psychobabble on me.
Exactly.
Listen, I looked at Reagan, and I love to share this with because he's such a, and all of our kids are great kids, but I mean they got strong mamas too. But I literally looked at him because especially when you got the moms that are coming here and the dads and they're just like, oh my god. I go, let me tell you something right now. I said I looked at my child, he was already digging me. I said, only one of us is gonna make it out of puberty, and it does not look good for you.
Yes.
I was like, oh my god, like who are you? And then I just go, hey mom, I'm really sorry. Damn. Like, I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, but it's true. Like when you said, "Who are you?" It's like you raise these little tiny humans, and then all of a sudden one day you wake up and it's like, "Who are you?"
The gremlin.
What have you done
it's a gremlin
with my child?
Yep.
What have you done? Like my son did. Like to me, it felt like he did a 360.
Yes.
It's like now you no longer need me, and that was hard.
That is hard.
But I am definitely firsthand learning. Okay, because my son's different from my girls. My girls were. They were needy. They needed me, and I liked it, And today we have a really great relationship. But he's 19, and he's already like, No, I need to cut this off. No, I don't want your advice on this. And I'm not used to that, but I'm learning. And that is what we have to do as parents. We have to step back. And like you said, we have to see what we're doing wrong so that we can come back.
And realize that sometimes the way we're reacting to that behavior is a us problem, or we're experiencing something because it's something that's triggering something within us.
There you go.
And we have to realize, like you said, you like to be needed. That's something that you like. But that's nothing bad, but that's who you are.
Right. Because it wasn't bad when they needed me.
And it worked. There. And it worked for your other kids. But it don't, and same thing.
I know why you're laughing. Better cut it out.